You've wasted enough time trying to feel ready. Power doesn't wait, it builds, one decision, one day at a time. What you do in the next 365 days will either make you dangerous or leave you right where you started. This isn't about motivation. It's about strategy, discipline, precision. If you want a different life, you must move like a different person, quietly, relentlessly. Every single day, forget inspiration, build execution. Because in a year, you'll be asking one of two questions. How did I do that? Or why didn't I start? Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully. Every great transformation begins not with 1,000 small changes, but with one ruthless decision that burns every bridge behind you. You know what that decision is. You've been circling it for months, maybe years. You've told yourself you need more time, more resources, more certainty. You've convinced yourself that waiting is wisdom. But here's what I learned in the courts of Florence. Hesitation is death, disguised as prudence. The decision I'm talking about isn't comfortable. It's the one that makes your stomach tighten when you think about it. It's the choice that your friends will question, your family will worry about, and your comfortable mind will resist with every fiber of its being. But let me ask you this. Where has comfort gotten you? Where has playing it safe delivered you? If you're listening to this, you already know the answer. Nowhere you want to be. Power begins when you stop negotiating with yourself, when you stop creating elaborate plans that give you permission to delay, when you recognize that the perfect moment is a myth designed to keep you exactly where you are. I've watched men rise from nothing because they made one clean cut. They decided who they would become, and they amputated every version of themselves that didn't match that vision. No gradual transitions, no easing into it. One decision, final, irreversible. What decision are you avoiding right now? What conversation haven't you had? What relationship haven't you ended? What business haven't you started? What habit haven't you killed? What version of yourself haven't you buried? Here's what most people don't understand about decisions. They think a decision is about choosing what to do, but the real power comes from choosing what not to do, what to eliminate, what to refuse, what to reject completely. The moment you make that ruthless decision, everything changes, not gradually, immediately, because you've just told the universe exactly who you are. And the universe responds to certainty the way metal responds to a magnet. Make the decision today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, today. While your rational mind is still trying to talk you out of it, that's when you know it's the right choice, when every comfortable part of you is screaming to stay safe. Choose who you will become. Then kill every version of yourself that doesn't match that vision. Be ruthless with your own mediocrity. Show no mercy to your own excuses. This is how power begins, with one clean cut that changes everything. Every morning you wake up to a battlefield. The question is whether you're prepared to fight or destined to surrender before the first shot is fired. Most people stumble into their day like drunken soldiers wandering into combat. No plan, no preparation, no strategy. They check their phone, react to whatever chaos the world throws at them, and wonder why they feel defeated by noon. But you're going to be different. You're going to move like a general who knows that battles are won before they begin. Here's what I learned watching the rise and fall of princes. The day belongs to whoever controls its beginning, not the loudest voice, not the most talented. The one who planned while others slept. Your daily war plan isn't complicated, it's ruthlessly simple. 3 elements, non-negotiable, every day, no exceptions. First, your mission. What is the one thing that must happen today for you to consider it a victory? Not 5 things, not a dozen tasks that make you feel busy. One mission, one objective that moves you closer to who you're becoming. Write it down the night before. Be specific, be measurable, make it something you can either accomplish or fail. No middle ground. Because vague goals create vague results, and vague results create vague lives. Second, your defenses. What are the 3 things most likely to derail your mission today? Social media, unnecessary meetings, people who drain your energy. Identify your enemies before they attack. Then build your defenses. Turn off notifications, block time in your calendar, prepare responses for the people who will try to steal your focus. The best generals don't just plan their attacks, they anticipate their opponent's moves. Third, your weapons. What tools, resources, or rituals do you need to execute your mission? Have them ready, laid out, accessible. Don't waste energy hunting for what you need when the battle begins. This is your uniform, your armor, your sword. Prepare them the night before like a warrior who knows tomorrow brings war. But let me ask you this. Why do most people fail to plan? Because planning forces you to confront reality. It makes you choose. It eliminates the comfortable lie that you can do everything and be everything to everyone. Planning is an act of violence against your scattered mind. It kills possibilities to birth certainty. Most people would rather live in the chaos of unlimited options than the clarity of focused action. Here's what most people don't understand about daily planning. It's not about controlling your day. It's about controlling your response to the uncontrollable, because chaos will come, interruptions will strike, unexpected battles will emerge. But when you have a plan, you have an anchor. You know what matters and what doesn't. You can distinguish between real emergencies and fake urgencies. You can say no without guilt and yes with purpose. Your war plan becomes your identity. It's the daily ritual that separates who you're becoming from who you used to be. It's the line between reactive and proactive, between victim and victor. Start tomorrow morning. Before you check your phone, before you react to the world's agenda, sit with your plan, review your mission, check your defenses. Sharpen your weapons. Make this so automatic that skipping it feels like walking into battle naked, because that's exactly what it is. Every day is a war between your potential and your patterns. Your plan is how you ensure potential wins. The first hour of your day and the last hour before sleep, these are the gates of power. Control them, and you control your mind. Lose them, and you surrender before the battle begins. Most people give away these sacred hours like fools throwing gold into the street. They wake up and immediately hand their attention to their phone, to the news, to other people's emergencies. They go to sleep scrolling through digital poison, filling their mind with chaos before the most important battle of all, the battle that happens in dreams. But you understand something they don't. You know that the mind is most vulnerable at its edges, when it's waking up, when it's shutting down. These are the moments when your subconscious is listening most carefully, when your deepest patterns are being written. Your first hour is not for the world, it's for you. It's when you program your mind before anyone else can hijack it. It's when you choose who you'll be today instead of reacting to who others want you to be. Here's your morning protocol. No negotiations, no exceptions, no gradual implementation. Starting tomorrow, you wake up and you do not touch your phone, you do not check messages, you do not consume news. For 1 full hour, the world does not exist. Only you and your mission exist. First 15 minutes, move your body. Not a workout, not exercise. Movement, push-ups against the wall, stretches on the floor, a walk around your room. Wake up your blood before you wake up your problems. Next 15 minutes, feed your mind. Read something that makes you stronger. Philosophy, strategy, biography of someone who conquered what you're trying to conquer. No news, no social media, no digital junk food, pure intellectual nutrition. Next 15 minutes, plan your attack. Review your mission for the day. Visualize yourself executing it perfectly. See yourself handling obstacles with calm precision. Program your mind for victory before victory becomes necessary. Final 15 minutes, silence. Sit with yourself. Breathe deliberately. Let your mind settle into its natural power. This is when you remember who you really are beneath all the noise and chaos. But let me ask you this. Why is your final hour just as critical? Because your last thoughts before sleep become your first thoughts upon waking. your mind processes. The day while you rest. What you feed it before bed determines what it creates while you're unconscious. Your evening protocol is equally non-negotiable. 1 hour before sleep, all screens die. All digital input stops. All external noise ends. Review your day like a general reviewing a battle. What worked? What failed? What patterns do you see? No emotion, no judgment. Pure strategic analysis. You're building a database of what creates power and what destroys it. Then prepare tomorrow's mission. Write it down. Make it specific. Make it unavoidable. Your unconscious mind will work on it all night, solving problems while you sleep. Finally, end with gratitude, not because it's nice, because it programs your mind to see abundance instead of scarcity, opportunity instead of obstacles. It's a tactical advantage disguised as spiritual practice. Here's what most people don't understand about these hours. They think they're too busy to protect them. But the truth is simpler and more brutal. They're too weak to defend them. They'd rather be comfortable slaves than disciplined kings. Your first and final hours are where you become who you're meant to be. They're when you separate yourself from the masses who live at the mercy of every notification, every interruption, every external demand. Guard these hours like a king guards his throne, because that's exactly what they are, the throne room of your mind. Look around you right now. Count how many things are demanding your attention. Your phone buzzing with notifications, tabs open in your browser, apps you haven't used in months, subscriptions to content you don't need, tools you bought but never mastered. You're drowning in noise disguised as necessity. You've confused having options with having power. But here's what I learned in the corridors of Florence. The prince who tries to use every weapon masters none. Most people are overloaded and undertrained. They collect tools like children collect toys, not because they need them, but because having them feels like progress. They subscribe to everything, download every app, buy every course, join every platform. Then they wonder why they feel scattered, why they can't focus, why they start 100 projects but finish none. The answer is simple. You can't build an empire with a cluttered armory. Your power comes not from how much you can access, but from how ruthlessly you can eliminate. Not from addition, but from subtraction. Not from what you keep, but from what you have the courage to cut. Here's your purge protocol. Do this today. No delays, no gradual transitions. First, your digital weapons. Open your phone. Count your apps. If you haven't used it in 30 days, delete it. No exceptions. No, but I might need it someday. If you haven't needed it in a month, you won't need it next month. Your phone should have one purpose: to serve your mission, not sabotage it. Every app should either make you money, make you stronger, or connect you to people who matter. Everything else is digital poison. Second, your information diet. List every subscription, every newsletter, every podcast, every YouTube channel you follow. Ask yourself one question about each. Does this make me more dangerous or more distracted? Cut everything that entertains without educating. Cut everything that informs without transforming. Your mind is not a garbage dump for other people's thoughts. It's a precision instrument that requires premium fuel. Third, your physical space. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower ever will. Clutter in your space creates clutter in your mind. Chaos around you creates chaos within you. Keep only what serves your current mission. Everything else goes. Sell it. Donate it. Throw it away. But get it out of your sight and out of your space. But let me ask you this. What about the weapons you keep? The tools that survive your ruthless elimination? These become your arsenal, your chosen instruments of power. Master them completely. Don't just use them. Dominate them. Know every feature, every shortcut, every advanced technique. Turn your limited tools into unlimited capabilities. Most people use 10 tools poorly. You'll use 3 tools perfectly. Most people know a little about everything. You'll know everything about what matters. Here's what most people don't understand about simplification. They think it's about having less. But it's actually about having exactly what you need when you need it in the form that serves you best. A master swordsman doesn't carry 50 swords. He carries one perfect blade that becomes an extension of his will. Your focus is your blade. Your tools are its edge. Your ruthless elimination is what keeps both sharp. The noise will try to creep back. New apps will promise to change your life. New subscriptions will claim to hold the secret you've been missing. New tools will whisper that they're exactly what you need. Resist. Stay sharp. Stay simple. Stay deadly. Because power isn't built by accumulating more. It's built by needing less while achieving more. The moment you don't feel like doing it, that's exactly when you must do it. The moment the excitement dies, the novelty wears off, the initial motivation evaporates. That's when real power begins. Most people mistake discipline for enthusiasm. They think strong people are those who feel motivated every day, who wake up energized, who attack their goals with constant passion. But that's not discipline. That's just riding an emotional wave that will inevitably crash. True discipline is what you do when you feel nothing, when the task is boring, when the routine feels meaningless, when every fiber of your being would rather do anything else. Here's what I observed in the rise and fall of princes. Those who conquered did so not in moments of inspiration, but in hours of drudgery. Not when they felt like heroes, but when they felt like quitting. The test of your character isn't what you do when you're excited. It's what you do when you're empty. When the well of motivation has run dry and all you have left is the decision to continue or surrender. This is where most people break. They start strong. They have grand visions. They make impressive plans. But when the mundane reality sets in, when they realize that transformation happens through 1,000 tiny, boring actions, they abandon ship. They're looking for the dramatic moment, the breakthrough, the sudden shift that changes everything. But power is built in the spaces between drama, in the quiet moments when no one is watching and nothing feels significant. Your morning routine on day 1 feels powerful. On day 30, it feels automatic. On day 60, it feels boring. Day 60 is when your real character reveals itself. Your workout on week 1 feels transformative. On week 8, it feels routine. On week 12, it feels like a chore. Week 12 is when you separate yourself from everyone who quit. But let me ask you this. Why do you think boredom is the enemy? Why have you been taught that if something doesn't excite you, it's not worth doing? Because excitement is temporary. Boredom is permanent. And anything that only happens when you're excited is destined to fail. The strongest people in history learned to find power in repetition, beauty in routine, victory in the mundane. They understood that extraordinary results come from doing ordinary things when you don't want to do them. Here's your training in boredom. Pick one thing, something small, something simple, something that serves your mission. Do it every day for the next 30 days. No exceptions, no modifications. No upgrades. When it starts feeling automatic, don't change it. When it starts feeling boring, don't add variety. When it starts feeling meaningless, don't look for deeper purpose. Just continue. Show up. Execute. Let the boredom wash over you, like water over stone. Let it teach you that your emotions are not your master. Let it prove that you can act regardless of how you feel. This is how you build the most dangerous weapon in your arsenal, the ability to do what needs to be done when you don't want to do it, the capacity to choose action over feeling, the power to be consistent when consistency is the last thing you desire. Here's what most people don't understand about discipline. It's not built in moments of strength. It's built in moments of weakness that you push through anyway. Every time you act despite not feeling like it, you're depositing power into your future self. Every time you choose the boring path, you're investing in a version of yourself that others will call extraordinary. Embrace the boredom. It's not your enemy, it's your teacher. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. They announce their plans because they need validation. They share their dreams because they crave approval. They broadcast their intentions because they mistake noise for progress. But you're going to be different. You're going to learn the most dangerous skill in the world, the ability to build power in complete silence. Most people can't resist the urge to tell others what they're doing. They announce their new diet on social media. They share their business plans with friends. They reveal their strategies to anyone who will listen. Then they wonder why their efforts feel scattered and why obstacles seem to multiply. Here's what I learned watching the masters of power. The moment you announce your intentions, you give your enemies time to prepare. You invite resistance. You create expectations that drain your energy and judgment that clouds your focus. But when you move in silence, you move with the advantage of surprise. Your competitors don't see you coming. Your critics can't sabotage what they don't know exists. Your own mind can't second-guess decisions that remain private. Silence is not secrecy. It's strategy. It's the difference between building in the shadows and performing for an audience. It's the difference between creating power and creating the appearance of power. Your new identity is not for public consumption. Your transformations is not entertainment for others. Your mission is not a conversation starter. It's work. And work is done in silence. Stop announcing. Stop explaining. Stop seeking permission or approval or encouragement. The people who matter will see your results. The people who don't matter don't deserve access to your process. But let me ask you this. Why is silence so difficult? Because we've been trained to believe that if something isn't shared, it isn't real. That if progress isn't posted, it doesn't count. That if victory isn't announced, it didn't happen. This is the lie that keeps most people weak. They spend more energy documenting their journey than actually taking it. They work harder on their image than their reality. They become performers instead of practitioners. When you move in silence, you move with pure intention. No audience to please, no image to maintain, no story to craft. Just you and the work and the gradual accumulation of real power. Your competitors will be confused. One day you were nowhere. The next day, you're ahead of them. They'll ask how you did it so fast. But you didn't do it fast. You did it quietly. While they were talking, you were building. Here's your silence protocol. For the next 90 days, share nothing about your transformation. No social media posts about your progress. No conversations about your goals. No updates on your journey. When people ask what you're doing differently, say nothing is different. When they notice changes, give credit to luck or timing. When they want to know your secret, tell them you don't have one. Let your results speak. Let your transformation be the announcement. Let your success be the explanation you never gave in advance. This isn't about being mysterious or antisocial. It's about protecting your power from the forces that would dilute it. It's about keeping your energy focused on execution instead of explanation. Here's what most people don't understand about silent action. It compounds. Every day you work without announcing it, you build momentum that can't be interrupted by external opinions. Every decision you make without seeking approval strengthens your inner compass. The world is full of talkers. Be a doer. The world is full of announcers. Be an accomplisher. The world is full of planners. Be an executor. Move in silence. Build in shadows. Strike without warning. Let your results be the only noise you make. Forget writing about your feelings. Start recording your facts. The difference between a journal and a ledger is the difference between therapy and strategy. One makes you feel better. The other makes you better. Most people write about their emotions, their hopes, their fears, their daily experiences. They pour their hearts onto paper and call it self-improvement. But feelings lie, emotions deceive, stories we tell ourselves about our progress rarely match reality. Numbers don't lie. Data doesn't negotiate. Results don't care about your intentions or your excuses or your elaborate explanations. They simply are or aren't. Your ledger is not a place for reflection. It's a place for measurement. It's where you track what actually happened, not what you wish had happened or what you plan to happen tomorrow. Here's what goes in your ledger. 3 categories, every day, no exceptions. First, execution. Did you do what you said you would do? Not how you felt about it, not why you struggled, not what obstacles you faced. Yes or no? Binary, simple, brutal. If your mission was to work out for 30 minutes, either you did it or you didn't. If your goal was to read for an hour, either you completed it or you failed. Record the facts without the story. Second, numbers. What measurable progress occurred today? How many pages did you read? How many calls did you make? How much weight did you lift? How much money did you earn? How many hours did you work on your priority? Track everything that matters to your mission, because what gets measured gets managed. What gets ignored gets abandoned. Third, patterns. What behaviors led to success today? What actions created failure? What time of day are you strongest? What circumstances drain your power? What people support your mission? What environments sabotage your focus? Look for trends across weeks and months. Your ledger becomes a map of your own psychology, a guide to what works and what doesn't for your specific mind and circumstances. But let me ask you this. Why do most people resist tracking? Because tracking forces honesty. It eliminates the comfortable lies we tell ourselves about our progress. It strips away the stories and reveals the raw truth. You can't convince your ledger that you almost worked out. You can't negotiate with data about whether you basically stuck to your diet. You can't charm numbers into believing you're making progress when you're standing still. This is why weak people avoid measurement. They prefer the soft comfort of intentions over the hard clarity of results. They'd rather feel productive than be productive. Your ledger becomes your accountability partner that never lies, never makes excuses, and never accepts anything less than the truth. It shows you exactly where you're winning and exactly where you're losing. Most importantly, it shows you the gap between who you think you are and who you actually are, between what you believe you're doing and what you're actually doing. Here's what most people don't understand about data. It's not cold or impersonal. It's the most personal thing in the world, because it's the only thing that shows you the real story of your life, stripped of all the comfortable delusions. Your ledger will humble you. It will reveal patterns you didn't know existed. It will show you that some days you thought were failures were actually victories, and some days you thought were successes were actually wastes. But most importantly, it will give you power. The power that comes from seeing clearly. The power that comes from knowing exactly what works for you and what doesn't. Keep your ledger like a businessman keeps his books, because your life is a business, and your daily actions are either profitable or they're not. Your body is advertising your mind to the world, every day, every moment, whether you realize it or not. Look in the mirror right now. What does your physical form say about your discipline, about your standards, about your relationship with discomfort? And challenge? If your body looks chaotic, your discipline is leaking. If your posture is weak, your confidence is compromised. If your physical presence lacks command, your mental authority is undermined. Most people treat their body like an accessory, something that carries their mind around, something that matters only for appearance or health. But they're missing the deepest truth about power. Your body is the foundation of everything else you're trying to build. Your physical discipline is your mental discipline made visible. Your commitment to training your body is practice for training your mind. Your ability to push through physical discomfort is preparation for pushing through mental resistance. When you command your body, you're proving to yourself that you can command anything. When you force your muscles to work when they don't want to, you're training your will to act when it doesn't feel like it. Here's what I learned watching leaders rise and fall. The ones who controlled their physical presence controlled everything else more easily. Not because they were stronger or more attractive, but because they had proven to themselves daily that they could override their base impulses. Your body is not just about fitness. It's about authority. It's about the signal you send to yourself and others about what kind of person you are. It's about whether you look like someone who accepts mediocrity or demands excellence. But let me ask you this. What does your current physical state say about your inner world? If someone could see only your body, what would they conclude about your head? Your discipline, your standards, your relationship with challenge? Your training doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be consistent. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be relentless. Pick one physical practice, something that requires you to overcome resistance every time you do it, something that gets harder as you progress, not easier. Push-ups, pull-ups, running, lifting, swimming. The specific activity matters less than the consistency and the progressive challenge. Do it every day. No exceptions, no modifications based on how you feel. No negotiating with yourself about whether today is a good day for it. Make it hurt just enough to remind you that you're choosing discomfort over ease. Make it challenging enough that completing it feels like a small victory. Make it consistent enough that skipping it feels like betraying yourself. Your body will resist. It will offer you every excuse, every rationalization, every reason why today should be different. This is not a bug. This is the feature. This is the training. Every time you override your body's desire for comfort, you're strengthening your mind's ability to override its desire for comfort. Every time you choose the hard path physically, you're making it easier to choose the hard path mentally. Here's what most people don't understand about physical training. It's not about building muscle or losing weight or looking good. Those are side effects. The real goal is building the psychological muscle that lets you do difficult things when you don't want to do them. Your body becomes proof that you keep your word to yourself, that you follow through on commitments, that you can be trusted to do what you say you'll do, especially when it's hard. When you walk into a room, people should sense immediately that you're someone who doesn't accept weakness from yourself, someone who demands more and delivers more, someone whose physical presence reflects an inner strength that can't be faked or purchased or inherited. Train your body like you mean it, because it's training for everything else. Comfort is the cage most people build for themselves and call it life. They choose the easy path, the safe option, the comfortable decision, and wonder why they feel trapped, weak, and ordinary. But you're going to be different. You're going to learn the most counterintuitive truth about power. The path to everything you want runs directly through everything you want to avoid. The conversation you don't want to have is exactly the conversation you need to have. The workout that feels too hard is exactly the workout that will change you. The project that scares you is exactly the project that will elevate you. Suffering is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the price of admission to a life that others only dream about. It's the entrance exam to the club of people who actually accomplish what they set out to do. Most people spend their entire lives trying to minimize discomfort. They want results without resistance. They want strength without struggle. They want transformation without pain. But that's not how power works. Every great achievement in history was built on someone's willingness to choose temporary suffering over permanent mediocrity, to embrace short-term pain for long-term gain, to walk willingly into discomfort while others ran toward ease. Here's what I observed in the courts of power. The princes who lasted were not those who avoided difficulty, but those who sought it out deliberately. They understood that comfort weakens and challenge strengthens. Your comfort zone is not a zone at all. It's a prison, and every day you choose to stay inside it, the bars get thicker and the walls get higher. Every time you pick easy over hard, safe over uncertain, comfortable over challenging, you're sentencing yourself to a smaller life. But let me ask you this. What if you reverse the equation? What if instead of trying to avoid discomfort, you actively pursued it? What if you made suffering your ally instead of your enemy? This is your new operating system. When faced with two choices, always pick the harder one. When presented with easy and difficult paths, choose difficult. When comfort and challenge compete for your attention, choose challenge. Cold shower or hot shower, choose cold. Elevator or stairs, choose stairs. Difficult conversation or avoidance? Choose difficulty. Easy task or hard task? Choose hard. Train yourself to feel suspicious of anything that comes too easily. Be wary of any path that doesn't require you to grow. Question any option that lets you stay exactly who you are today. This doesn't mean being masochistic or stupid. It means being strategic about your relationship with discomfort. It means understanding that voluntary suffering prevents involuntary suffering. When you choose your hard, life doesn't get to choose a different hard for you. When you proactively embrace challenge, you build the strength to handle whatever challenges find you. Here's what most people don't understand about choosing suffering. It's not about being miserable. It's about being prepared. It's about building the psychological and physical resources you'll need when comfort is no longer an option. Every time you choose the hard path voluntarily, you're making a deposit in your future strength account. Every time you embrace discomfort deliberately, you're building immunity to the discomfort that will come whether you invite it or not. The person who runs every morning when they don't feel like it is ready for the emergency that requires them to run when their life depends on it. The person who has difficult conversations regularly is ready for the crisis conversation that determines their future. Choose your suffering carefully. Choose it consciously. Choose it strategically. But choose it because the alternative isn't avoiding suffering. The alternative is having suffering choose you. Motivation is a lie sold to weak minds. It promises that you'll feel ready, feel inspired, feel energized every day. But motivation is weather, unpredictable, temporary, completely outside your control. Ritual is different. Ritual doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't negotiate with your emotions. It doesn't wait for inspiration to strike or energy to appear. Ritual simply happens regardless of your internal state. In 365 days, you will not be motivated every morning. You will not feel inspired every afternoon. You will not be energized every evening. If your success depends on feeling a certain way, you've already failed. But if your success depends on ritual, on automatic actions that happen regardless of how you feel, then you've built something unbreakable. Most people think motivation comes first, then action follows. They wait to feel like doing something before they do it. They believe they need to be in the right mood, have the right energy, feel the right inspiration. But masters understand the reverse. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. The ritual comes first. The feeling follows. You don't wait to feel strong. You act strong until you become strong. Your ritual is your armor against your own weakness. It's your protection against the days when your mind rebels, your emotions betray you, and your willpower crumbles. It's what saves you from yourself when yourself can't be trusted. Here's what I learned watching the rise of lasting power. Those who endured didn't do so because they felt like it every day. They endured because they built systems that operated independently of their feelings. Your morning ritual, your evening ritual, your workout ritual, your work ritual. These become so automatic that skipping them feels impossible, like trying to skip breathing or blinking. But let me ask you this. What's the difference between a routine and a ritual? A routine is what you do when you feel like it. A ritual is what you do especially when you don't feel like it. A routine can be modified, negotiated, postponed. A ritual is sacred, unchangeable, non-negotiable. It happens regardless of circumstances, emotions, or external pressures. Your rituals must be simple enough to execute when you're exhausted, specific enough to prevent confusion, and powerful enough to create momentum even when you start with none. Not elaborate, not complicated, not dependent on perfect conditions or special equipment or ideal timing. Simple actions that can happen anywhere, anytime, regardless of how you feel. Pick 3 rituals: morning, work, evening. Design them to take less than 15 minutes each. Make them so simple that even your weakest self can execute them. Morning. Ritual. 5 minutes that set your mind right before the world gets access to it. Work ritual, the exact sequence you follow to begin productive work. Evening ritual, how you close the day and prepare for tomorrow. Practice them when you feel good, so they're automatic when you feel terrible. Rehearse them when you're motivated, so they're available when motivation disappears. Here's what most people don't understand about ritual. It's not about the specific actions. It's about proving to yourself that you can be trusted to do what you commit to do, regardless of internal weather. Every time you execute your ritual when you don't feel like it, you're building the most valuable asset in the world, self-trust. The knowledge that your word to yourself is unbreakable. Your rituals become your identity. They're how you prove day after day that you're the kind of person who follows through, who keeps commitments, who doesn't negotiate with weakness. Replace motivation with ritual. Replace feelings with systems. Replace hoping with happening, because motivation will abandon you. But ritual never will. Failure is data, not judgment. It's information, not condemnation. It's feedback, not finality. But most people treat failure like a personal attack instead of a strategic resource. They hide from their mistakes. They make excuses for their setbacks. They avoid examining what went wrong, because looking at failure feels like admitting weakness. But this is exactly backwards. Weak minds fear failure because they take it personally. Strong minds study failure because they see it as intelligence. They understand that every failure contains instructions for future success, if you have the courage to read them. Your failures are not embarrassments to be buried. They're case studies to be analyzed. They're experiments that didn't produce the expected results, which means they produced different results that contain valuable information about what doesn't work. Most people run from their failures. You're going to run toward them. You're going to examine them with the cold precision of a scientist studying specimens under a microscope. Here's your failure analysis protocol. Every time something doesn't go according to plan, you conduct an autopsy, not an emotional breakdown, not a session of self-pity. A clinical examination of what happened and why. First, identify the failure precisely. What exactly didn't work? Be specific. I failed tells you nothing. I missed my workout because I stayed up too late scrolling on my phone tells you everything. Second, trace the failure back to its source. What decision led to this outcome? What pattern created this result? What warning signs did you ignore? Follow the chain of cause and effect until you reach the root. Third, extract the lesson. What does this failure teach you about your patterns, your weaknesses, your blind spots? What system needs to be adjusted? What habit needs to be changed? What decision needs to be made differently next time? Fourth, design the prevention. Based on what you learned, what will you do differently? Not what you'll try to remember or hope to avoid, but what specific system or structure will prevent this failure from recurring. But let me ask you this. Why do most people resist analyzing their failures? Because analysis requires admitting that they're responsible for the outcome. It's easier to blame circumstances, other people, bad luck, or unfair conditions, but responsibility is power. When you take full responsibility for your failures, you take full control over fixing them. When you blame external factors, you surrender your ability to improve. Your failure log becomes your competitive advantage. While others repeat the same mistakes because they won't examine them, you're constantly upgrading your approach based on real data from your real experience. Here's what most people don't understand about failure. It's not the opposite of success. It's the raw material of success. Every person who achieved something significant failed repeatedly on their way there. The difference is they treated failure as education, not evidence of inadequacy. The goal isn't to avoid failure. That's impossible if you're attempting anything worth doing. The goal is to fail faster, learn quicker, and adjust more precisely than anyone else. Your failures are feedback from reality. They're telling you exactly what doesn't work, so you can focus on what does. They're showing you the gaps in your strategy so you can fill them. Track your failures like a scientist tracks experiments. Study them like a general studies defeated battles. Learn from them like a student learns from tests. Because the person who fails the most and learns the fastest wins. The person who makes the most mistakes and extracts the most lessons advances. The person who treats failure as data instead of defeat becomes unstoppable. Your failures are not your weakness. They're your education. The people around you are either sharpening you or dulling you. There is no neutral. Every conversation either elevates your standards or erodes them. Every person in your circle either supports your transformation or sabotages it. Most people accept whoever happens to be around them. They maintain relationships out of habit, obligation, or fear of being alone. They let energy vampires drain their power and dream killers poison their ambition because they think loyalty means tolerating toxicity. But you understand something they don't. You know that access to you is a privilege, not a right. That your time and attention are your most valuable resources. That protecting your circle is not selfishness, it's strategy. Look around you right now. Who are you spending time with? Who has access to your thoughts, your plans, your energy? What do these people believe about success, about excellence, about what's possible? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the most ambitious person in your circle, you need a new circle. If you're the only one who thinks big, you're surrounded by people who will keep you small. Your circle should make you uncomfortable. They should challenge your thinking, raise your standards, and make you question whether you're doing enough. They should be evidence of what's possible, not confirmation of what's impossible. But let me ask you this. How many people in your current circle actively support your highest vision of yourself? How many celebrate your victories without jealousy? How many encourage you to reach higher instead of settling for where you are? And how many subtly discourage your ambitions? How many find reasons why your dreams won't work? How many pull you back toward comfortable mediocrity whenever you start climbing towards something greater? These people must go, not with drama, not with explanations, not with confrontation, with distance, gradual, strategic, irreversible distance. You don't owe anyone access to your transformation. You don't owe anyone front row seats to your journey. You don't owe anyone the right to influence your trajectory with their limitations. Start saying no to invitations that don't serve your mission. Stop answering calls from people who drain your energy. Reduce contact with anyone who makes you feel small, doubtful, or satisfied with mediocrity. This isn't about being cruel. It's about being protective. Protective of your vision. Protective of your energy. Protective of your future self who deserves to be surrounded by people who see greatness as normal, not impossible. Replace them with people who are already where you want to be. People who think bigger thoughts, set higher standards, and execute with more precision. People who make you feel like you need to level up just to belong. Here's what most people don't understand about circles. They think changing. Their circle means finding new friends, but it starts with becoming the kind of person that high-quality people want to be around. Upgrade yourself first. Raise your standards. Improve your habits. Develop your skills. Become someone worth knowing. Then the right people will naturally gravitate towards you. Your circle is your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior. Your behavior determines your results. If you want different results, you need different behavior. If you want different behavior, you need a different environment. Guard your circle like a king guards his court. Be selective. Be protective. Be ruthless about who gets access to your mind and influence over your decisions. Because you become who you spend time with. You adopt the standards of your circle. You achieve at the level of your environment. Choose carefully. Your future depends on it. You are both the general and the soldier in the war for your own transformation. You must command yourself with the authority of a leader and obey yourself with the discipline of a subordinate. Most people treat themselves like a suggestion, not a command. They make requests of themselves instead of giving orders. They negotiate with their own laziness instead of demanding compliance. They lead themselves like a weak manager trying to motivate an unruly employee. But you're going to be different. You're going to understand that self-leadership requires the same structure, clarity, and authority as leading others. You're going to treat yourself like the most important person you'll ever manage, because you are. A general doesn't ask his soldiers if they feel like fighting today. He doesn't negotiate about whether the mission is convenient. He doesn't accept excuses about why orders can't be followed. He commands, and his army obeys. Your mind is your army. Your habits are your troops. Your daily actions are your battles. And you are the general who must coordinate them all toward victory. But here's where most people fail in self-leadership. They think being kind to themselves means being soft with themselves. They confuse self-compassion with self-indulgence. They believe that harsh standards are somehow self-destructive. This is backwards. The kindest thing you can do for yourself is demand excellence. The most compassionate act is refusing to accept mediocrity. The greatest love is holding yourself to standards that create the life you actually want. Your internal dialogue must change. Stop asking yourself what you feel like doing. Start telling yourself what you're going to do. Stop wondering if you're motivated. Start commanding action regardless of motivation. I should work out becomes I will work out at 6 a.m. I need to eat better becomes I will eat according to my plan. I want to be more disciplined becomes I will execute my routine without exception. Commands, not wishes. Orders, not hopes. Decisions, not considerations. But let me ask you this. What happens when the soldier in you rebels against the general? When your body resists your mind's commands? When your emotions revolt against your strategic decisions? This is when real leadership is tested. A weak general negotiates with mutinous soldiers. A strong general maintains authority even when obedience is difficult. You don't convince yourself to follow your own orders. You simply follow them. You don't debate with the part of you that wants to quit. You acknowledge its voice and proceed. Anyway, your authority over yourself must be absolute. Not cruel, but complete. Not harsh, but unquestionable. You are the final word in every internal debate about what you will and won't do. Create systems of accountability within yourself. Regular check-ins between the general and the soldier. Reviews of performance, analysis of what's working and what isn't. Strategic adjustments based on results, not feelings. Here's what most people don't understand about self-leadership. It's not about motivation or inspiration. It's about command structure. It's about clear orders, consistent execution, and consequences for failure to comply. When you lead yourself like an army, you become reliable to yourself. You know that when you decide something, it happens. When you commit to something, it gets done. When you set a standard, it gets met. This self-trust becomes the foundation of everything else you build. Because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anything else. If you can't command your own behavior, you can't command your circumstances. Lead with clarity. Command with authority. Execute with precision. Your army of one is waiting for orders. Make them count. You think your addictions are small, harmless, just little habits that help you relax, cope, or feel better. But every addiction is an assassin, slowly murdering your potential while you pay it to do the job. Food that makes you sluggish. Scrolling that steals your focus. Entertainment that numbs your ambition. Shopping that drains your resources. Validation seeking that weakens your self-reliance. These aren't innocent pleasures. They're silent killers of everything you're trying to become. Most people underestimate their addictions because they're not dramatic. No one goes to rehab for checking their phone too much. No one stages an intervention for someone who watches too much Netflix. No one calls overeating a life-threatening disease, but these quiet addictions are more dangerous than the obvious ones because they're socially acceptable. They're normalized. They're disguised as normal behavior while they systematically drain your power, focus, and potential. Your addictions are anything you can't easily give up for 30 days. Anything you do compulsively rather than consciously. Anything that serves your comfort instead of your mission, anything that you use to avoid discomfort rather than face it. Look at your day honestly. How much time do you spend scrolling through social media? How often do you eat when you're not hungry? How many hours disappear into entertainment that adds nothing to your life? How frequently do you seek validation from others instead of trusting your own judgment? These behaviors seem small in isolation, but they compound, they accumulate, they create a pattern of choosing immediate gratification over long-term power. They train your mind to take the easy path instead of the effective path. But let me ask you this. What would you be capable of if you redirected all that wasted energy toward your mission? If you took the time you spend on mindless activities and invested it in building something meaningful? Your addictions are not just stealing your time, they're stealing your identity. Every time you choose the quick dopamine hit over the hard work, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who takes shortcuts, someone who avoids difficulty, someone who prioritizes comfort over growth. Here's your addiction elimination protocol. Pick one addiction, the one that consumes the most time or energy. Eliminate it completely for 30 days. Not reduce it, not moderate it, eliminate it. If it's social media, delete the apps. If it's junk food, remove it from your environment. If it's mindless entertainment, cancel the subscriptions. If it's seeking validation, stop sharing your progress with others. Your addicted mind will offer you every negotiation, every rationalization, every reason why elimination is too extreme. It will promise moderation. It will suggest gradual reduction. It will convince you that you need this addiction to function. Ignore every argument. Addictions don't respond to moderation. They respond to elimination. You can't negotiate with a behavior that's designed to override your rational decision-making. The first week will be difficult. Your mind will create elaborate justifications for returning to the addictive behavior. The second week will be easier. The third week, you'll start to see what life looks like without the addiction. The fourth week, you'll wonder why you ever thought you needed it. Here's what most people don't understand about addiction. It's not about the substance or behavior. It's about the pattern of choosing immediate relief over long-term power. It's about training your mind to avoid discomfort instead of using discomfort as fuel. When you eliminate an addiction, you're not just removing a behavior, you're building the psychological muscle that lets you choose difficult over easy, long-term over short-term, growth over comfort. Starve your addictions. Feed your mission. Because you can't build an empire while you're enslaved to behaviors that keep you weak. You are trying to be too many people at once. The entrepreneur and the employee. The disciplined athlete and the weekend partier. The serious professional and the casual friend. The ambitious achiever and the laid-back relaxer. This is why you feel scattered. This is why your progress feels slow. This is why you start strong but can't maintain momentum. You're not building one powerful identity. You're maintaining multiple weak identities that compete with each other for resources. Indecision is weakness. Not just indecision about what to do, but indecision about who to be. Every moment you spend being unclear about your identity is a moment your potential remains unrealized. Most people think they need to be well-rounded, adaptable, able to fit into any situation. They believe that keeping their options open is strategic, but this is the lie that keeps them powerless. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't excel at everything. You can't serve multiple masters. The most dangerous people in any field are those who have chosen one identity and eliminated everything that doesn't serve it. They're not trying to be balanced. They're trying to be dominant. They've made the hard choice about who they are, and they've killed every version of themselves that doesn't match that vision. Look at your current life. How many different versions of yourself are you trying to maintain? How many different standards are you trying to meet? How many different people are you trying to please? Every identity you maintain requires energy. Every version of yourself you keep alive demands attention. Every possibility you leave open weakens your commitment to the one that matters most. But let me ask you this. If you could only be known for one thing, what would it be? If you had to choose one identity and abandon all others, which one would you pick? If you could only excel in one area, which area would create the life you actually want? This is not about limiting yourself. This is about focusing yourself. This is about concentrating your power instead of diluting it across multiple identities that prevent you from mastering any of them. Choose the identity that aligns with your deepest mission, the version of yourself that, if fully realized, would create the life you most want to live, the identity that excites you and terrifies you in equal measure. Then, kill the rest, not gradually, not over time, immediately and completely. Stop trying to maintain the identity that holds you back. Stop feeding the version of yourself that accepts mediocrity. Stop preserving the identity that makes others comfortable but keeps you small. This means making choices that will disappoint some people. It means saying no to activities that don't serve your chosen identity. It means abandoning behaviors that worked for who you used to be but don't work for who you're becoming. Your chosen identity becomes your filter for every decision. Does this action serve the person I've chosen to become? Does this opportunity align with my identity? Does this relationship support who I am or who I used to be? Here's what most people don't understand about identity. It's not discovered. It's chosen. It's not something you find through exploration. It's something you create through elimination. It's not about being authentic to all your possibilities. It's about being committed to your highest possibility. When you choose one identity and eliminate the rest, something powerful happens. All your energy flows in the same direction. All your actions compound toward the same goal. All your progress accelerates because it's no longer divided among competing versions of yourself. Choose who you will be. Kill who you used to be. Become who you must be, because scattered energy creates scattered results, but focused identity creates focused power. You don't owe warmth to the world. You don't owe emotional availability to everyone who demands it. You don't owe your energy to people who haven't earned it. You don't owe comfort to those who would use your kindness against you. Most people confuse coldness with cruelty. They think that emotional distance means being harsh or unkind, but strategic coldness isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting yourself. It's about maintaining command over your own emotional resources instead of letting others drain them. Warmth is a weapon. Emotion is ammunition. Attention is currency. When you give these away freely to anyone who asks, you're giving away your power. When you distribute your emotional energy without strategy, you're weakening yourself for the battles that actually matter. The strongest people in history were not those who loved everyone equally. They were those who could turn their emotions on and off like a switch, depending on what the situation required. They could be warm when warmth served their purpose, and cold when coldness protected their mission. Look at your emotional patterns. How often do you get pulled into other people's drama? How frequently do you waste energy trying to make others comfortable? How much time do you spend managing other people's feelings instead of focusing on your own goals? Every moment you spend emotionally engaged with people who don't serve your mission is a moment stolen from people who do. Every piece of attention you give to meaningless relationships is attention unavailable for meaningful ones. But let me ask you this. What would happen if you became more selective with your emotional investment? What if you saved your warmth for people who actually deserve it? What if you stopped trying to be liked by everyone and started focusing on being respected by the people who matter? Strategic coldness is not permanent. It's tactical. It's the ability to disconnect emotionally when emotional engagement would be costly, counterproductive, or dangerous to your mission. With energy vampires who drain your power, with negative people who poison your mindset, with manipulators who use your emotions against you, with anyone whose presence in your life costs more than it contributes. You can be polite without being warm. You can be professional without being personal. You can be civil without being emotional. You can be present without being invested. This is not about being rude or cruel. It's about being efficient with your emotional resources. It's about understanding that your feelings are valuable and should be spent wisely, not scattered carelessly. When someone tries to pull you into unnecessary drama, you respond with cool professionalism instead of emotional engagement. When someone attempts to manipulate you through guilt or pressure, you maintain distance instead of taking the bait. Your coldness becomes a shield that protects your energy for what matters most. It preserves your emotional resources for the people and purposes that actually serve your highest good. Here's what most people don't understand about coldness. It's not the absence of feeling. It's the presence of control. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being selective about when and where you express emotion. The people who deserve your warmth will receive it fully. The people who don't deserve it will encounter your professional distance. And you'll stop exhausting yourself by trying to be emotionally available to everyone who demands it. Practice saying no without explanation. Practice withdrawing your attention without guilt. Practice being unavailable emotionally to people who haven't earned access to your inner world. Your warmth is precious. Guard it carefully. Give it strategically. Withhold it when necessary. Because emotional intelligence isn't about feeling everything, it's about feeling the right things at the right times with the right people. Every day you have a choice. You can make noise through output, or you can make noise through opinion. You can let your results do the talking, or you can do the talking without results. Most people are backwards. They talk before they achieve. They announce before they execute. They share opinions before they demonstrate competence. They make noise with their mouths, while their actions whisper weakness. But you understand something they don't. You know that credibility is earned through results, not rhetoric. That authority comes from achievement, not announcement. That respect is built through consistent excellence, not clever words. The world is drowning in empty opinions from people who have achieved nothing worth discussing. Everyone has thoughts about success, but few have evidence of it. Everyone has theories about excellence, but few have examples of it. Your voice matters only when your results give it weight. Your opinions become valuable only when your achievements prove their worth. Your advice becomes powerful only when your life demonstrates its effectiveness. Until then, silence is your ally. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're too busy doing to waste time talking about doing. Most people mistake volume for value. They think being heard means being important. They confuse getting attention with getting respect. But noise without results is just noise. Opinion without achievement is just entertainment. Look at your current ratio of talking to producing. How much time do you spend discussing your plans versus executing them? How much energy goes into explaining your ideas versus implementing them? How much focus is directed toward describing your vision versus building it? But let me ask you this. What if you reverse that ratio? What if you spent 10% of your time talking and 90% executing? What if you became known for what you accomplish rather than what you articulate? This doesn't mean never speaking. It means earning the right to speak through results that can't be argued with. It means building evidence before building arguments. It means creating proof before creating persuasion. When your results speak, they speak louder than your words ever could. When your achievements tell your story, that story becomes undeniable. When your success demonstrates your competence becomes unquestionable. The person who talks about working out looks weak next to the person whose body shows they work out. The entrepreneur who discusses business theory looks amateur next to the entrepreneur whose company shows they understand business. The leader who explains leadership principles looks incompetent next to the leader whose team's performance demonstrates leadership mastery. Your results are your credentials. Your achievements are your arguments. Your success is your statement. But here's the trap most people fall into. They start achieving and immediately want to talk about it. They get small results and turn them into big announcements. They mistake early progress for final victory. Stay quiet longer than feels comfortable. Let your results accumulate before you acknowledge them. Build a larger body of evidence before you present your case. When you finally do speak, speak from a position of undeniable strength. Speak with the authority that comes from consistent achievement. Speak with the credibility that results create. Here's what most people don't understand about results. They compound not just in impact, but in authority. Each achievement makes the next one more credible. Each success makes your next opinion more valuable. Each result makes your voice more worth hearing. But until you have results worth discussing, your best contribution to any conversation is productive silence. Your most powerful statement is continued execution. Let your results speak or stay silent. Because the world has enough talkers and not enough doers. Be a doer. The talking can wait. Today is day one of your transformation. 365 days from now, you will look back at this moment as the turning point, the moment you stopped being who you were and started becoming who you were meant to be. But transformation is not gradual. It's not a gentle evolution. It's a complete reconstruction. It's the systematic demolition of who you used to be and the ruthless construction of who you must become. By day 365, the person you are today should feel like a stranger. Your old habits should feel impossible. Your previous standards should feel insulting. Your former limitations should feel like lies you once believed about yourself. This is not about improvement. This is about revolution. This is not about getting better. This is about becoming unrecognizable. Most people change slowly because they're afraid of losing themselves. They want to keep the comfortable parts of their identity while upgrading the inconvenient parts. They want transformation without destruction, growth without death, power without sacrifice. But you understand that real change requires real death. The death of excuses, the death of mediocrity, the death of the version of yourself that accepted less than you deserve. You cannot become who you must be while protecting who you used to be. You cannot rise to your potential while clinging to your patterns. You cannot build an empire while preserving a cottage. Everything you've learned in these 17 chapters is preparation for this moment, this choice, this commitment to complete transformation over comfortable modification. The next 365 days will test everything you think you know about yourself, your discipline, your determination, your ability to choose difficult over easy, long-term over short-term, growth over comfort. There will be days when you question whether the change is worth the cost. Days when your old identity calls you back to familiar mediocrity. Days when the gap between who you are and who you're becoming feels impossibly wide. But let me ask you this. What's the alternative? Another year of the same patterns producing the same results? Another year of knowing you're capable of more but settling for what's comfortable? Another year of promises to yourself that you never keep? You already know where that path leads. You've been walking it long enough to see the destination. It leads to regret, to unfulfilled potential, to the bitter knowledge that you had everything you needed to transform your life, but chose not to use it. Your transformation begins now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect. Now, today, this moment. Choose the one ruthless decision that starts everything. Build your daily war plan. Master your first and final hour. Cut the noise and keep only what serves your mission. Embrace boredom as your teacher. Move in silence until your results become undeniable. Track your progress like a scientist. Train your body to reflect your mind. Choose suffering over comfort. Replace motivation with ritual. Study your failures like case studies. Guard your circle like a fortress. Lead yourself like an army. Starve every addiction that drains your power. Choose one identity and kill all others. Practice strategic coldness. Let your results speak louder than your words. Do this consistently for 365 days, and you will become unrecognizable, not just to others, but to yourself. You will look in the mirror and see a stranger, a stronger stranger, A more dangerous stranger, a stranger who kept every promise they made to themselves. The clock starts now. 365 days, one decision at a time. One day at a time, one choice at a time. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it. If this message spoke to you, subscribe for more powerful mindset content. Let us know in the comments what part hit you the hardest. You already have what it takes. Now go prove it.